Okay, here we go. Brand new week of fresh new ideas. And that is the topic this week, fresh new ideas. Where do they come from? This brings up a fascinating topic. Do you think your own thoughts? Do your thoughts actually develop inside of your own brain? Is that where your thoughts come from? My thoughts come from me inside of my 3 pound organic electrochemical gooey blob on top of my spinal cord locked inside my cranium, and your thoughts come from yours. Hmm, let's examine that. Well, that's the material take on reality, but the spiritual, the I'm just going to say it. The enlightened take on this topic is that our brains don't produce thought, they receive thought. Our brains are like radio receivers. And in effect, every spiritual system ever, every spiritual master ever, if you boil down their truth and their wisdom, it all boils down to we are receivers of thought. And what this means is our brains are like radios and they receive thought. And some people receive wonderful thoughts. Some people receive really crappy thoughts because in the ether, so to speak, in the presence of consciousness, in the energetic awareness of the universe, in the universal mind, there are many different strata of thoughts from very low, very negative, very cold, very dark, very separated, very ignorant thoughts, all the way up to the most enlightened, most perfected, most idealistic, most glorious, most harmonious, most loving thoughts. And each and every one of us, well, here's an example. I'm chronically turned into KGRG. Greg, it's playing all of Greg's hits all of the time. And boy, there's some really stale, stinky thoughts in there. Thoughts from the 80s, boy, even some very bad thoughts from the late 50s and the 60s. But there's good thoughts too. There's a lot of good thoughts. It's a mixed bag what my brain receives. But given given that we're meditators, each and every one of us, once a day, several times during the day, all day long, in fact, we could tune into KGOD, K God. Now that's where all the best hits are playing. Brand new, wonderful hits, new ideas, new thoughts, new insights, solutions to problems, creative possibilities, things we haven't thought of before. We haven't thought of everything yet, right? We've only thought of the smallest fraction, and our little teeny brains have, as smart as we are, we've only scratching the surface. And so when we meditate, we bring our minds into receptive mode where we can receive the most brilliant thought and insight in a flash because we get this, we don't think our own thoughts. That's a crazy way to think, isn't it? But our thoughts are simply the frequency that our brain is tuned into. Now, when we die and our brain croaks, then our brain is no longer the small little filter of all the available ways to think and experience in this universe. And then we're much more unconstrained, unfettered, and free. But by meditating, you tap into astonishing thoughts. And I'm going to bring this into illumination. Bear with me with Thomas Edison, of all people. Thomas Edison had over 1,000 patents, and he was always working on his next brilliant invention. In fact, he hardly ever slept. He was so enthusiastic, passionate, interested in coming up with new ideas, new inventions, new patents. And he was also kind of a horrible person. He liked crushing his competitors, but that's a topic for another conversation. But be that as it may, he would always be wrestling with some new idea and a problem he was facing. And when he would run into a problem he couldn't solve, he would sit in a chair and hold a rubber ball in his hand. Forgive me if I said this story a couple of days ago, but he would relax himself. And when he felt that he was going to let go of the rubber ball, in other words, when he felt sleep coming on, he knew that he was in what he would call receptive mode. And in that receptive mode where his mind blended with infinite mind, that, for example, is where he came up with the idea for the particular material that he needed to invent the light bulb. He had been through 1,500 different material combinations, cotton and linen, and finally he lit upon, how's that better analogy, the proper material for the light bulb, and poof, he changed humanity forever. So let's each and every one of us be an Edison in our own life in terms of inventiveness, innovative, and clever, not being a dick to everybody else, but the ideas we need that will transform our life and bring light to the whole world. How's that for wrapping it all up? Go get 'em, kids. I'll see you tomorrow.